Hey, tree sprites. Another big hindrance to our evolution as Black American people that we don't like to talk about is restricted gender expression. Of all the things that we acknowledge about colonialism and racism and white narcissism, we very rarely touch on how colonialism has negatively impacted the way that the African diaspora and Black people express themselves gender wise. And really, gender expression is just self expression. But because we have been indoctrinated with such strict gender roles that repress and restrict the way that we show up in the world, we don't realize how much restriction it also puts on our imagination and creativity. Because imagination and creativity are going to be our primary tools moving forward and creating a new reality, evolving into a new paradigm. However, we will not be able to do that to our fullest, greatest capacity if we're still policing one another based on what we're doing or how we're expressing ourselves based on our socialized gender. Because physiological sex is one thing, but the grand majority of the norms that we assign to physiological sex is purely the culture of society. Not to say that there aren't some common patterns of behavior seen in AMAB or AFAB people. However, the majority of gender expression is based on society. And the more prevalent male dominance and patriarchy is in society, typically the more restricted gender expression is. And so the more that we are able to freely express ourselves authentically, the more that we are able to cultivate our imagination and creativity. And not only that, but also developing the skill of translating our visions into the physical reality. Like some of the most amazing creativity that we see comes out of the Black queer community, because the Black queer community, the Black nerd community are some of the spaces where expression is unrestricted and where you will see people freely bringing forth amazing creations. We still have a very bad habit of telling little girls and little boys that they can't express themselves in certain authentic ways because of the way that they are perceived socially in their gender. Restricting people in colors, in hobbies, in the way that they dress, in their style, in the music that they listen to, in the media that they consume and enjoy. These are actually practices and ways that we indoctrinate ourselves that absolutely limit our liberation and evolution as a people. And it is one of the aspects of European colonialism that our community holds tightly to. We are going to have to allow ourselves a huge level of rawness in order to move forward. And we're going to have to learn to keep paths open and clear for our youth and not keep putting up roadblocks in front of them. Anti-queerness is anti-evolution. It is of the colonial past. It is anti-futurism. Indigenous West African people had a myriad of ways that they expressed themselves and of the roles that they would take on in society, depending on the culture. Many cultures in which Europeans, once they made contact, demonized and used as a reason to refer to the indigenous African people as savages and primitive to exploit them. And so the modern day association of queerness with whiteness is extremely ironic and inappropriate and anti-history. We will become more spiritually abundant as a people when we learn to allow ourselves to be authentic, when we learn to express truly, and when we stop the practice of restricting each other out of fear. All of the negative discourse about masculine women and feminine men is a complete distraction and is stalling us from creating the reality that we would love to live in. Imagine how much more progress we could be making in society for ourselves if we just let go of the obsessive control that we try to maintain over one another's expression. If we just accepted people, accepted children for who they actually are as they come here on this plane of reality. We have the ability to take quite a bit of pressure off of ourselves so that we can focus more of our attention on recreating the future. Subscribe to Black Barn Owl, link in the bio, and I'll see you in always.